over his chest. Excitable boy, they all said. Well, he's just an excitable boy. He took in the 4 a.m. show at the Clark. Excitable boy, they all said. And he bit the usherette's leg in the dark. Excitable boy, they all said. Well, he's just an excitable boy. Little Susie to the junior prom. Excitable boy, they all said. Excitable boy. And he raped her and killed her, then he took her home. Excitable boy, they all said. Excitable boy. Well, he's just an excitable boy. After 10 long years, they let him out of the home. Excitable boy, they all said. Excitable boy. And he dug up her grave and built a cage with her bones. Excitable boy, they all said. Excitable boy. Well, he's just an excitable boy.
Well, good evening, everybody. If you are watching online right now, this is Mike Booty, your Midnight Citizen. I'm here to do a podcast for you tonight. Oh boy, you've caught me in my pre-show portion of the podcast. I am about to do a show here in about the next 10 minutes or so. Got most of the technical kinks worked out. If you've been watching the past 3 weeks, this has not been an easy July for me. After a month of June went by doing news shows for the first time in about 3 years, everything went fine, and then July hit, and it was just problem after problem after problem. But that's okay. I don't shy away from problems because, problems, they mean you're improving. They mean that you're taking it seriously. If life happened without problems, it'd be a pretty boring life, right? Yeah, I don't believe that either. But anyway, you do what you can. You rationalize however you want to rationalize. So, but yeah, I'm here in the Midnight Citizen studio tonight, and with a new mixer and a new web camera for you people who are watching at home. If you are watching at home, either right now live or in the future, welcome to the show. It's going to be a great show tonight. I've got a lot of cool stuff I'm going to talk about. But first, I'm going to let you enjoy some music while I wrap everything up and get everything ready to go to the show and publicize on Facebook and all that stuff. Try to get some people in here watching. And I'm going to go also make a cup of coffee because I haven't had one since lunch. So anyway, yeah. Enjoy some music while I go in and make a cup of coffee, and I will be back here in just a couple of minutes to tell you all the cool stuff that's going to be coming up on the show tonight, and eventually I will start the show as well. So anyway, I'll see you in just a few. Alright, so I got my coffee in my Seinfeld mug. Typically, I don't like to drink out of the Seinfeld mug. I've had this mug ever since I was a junior in high school when I went to New York for the first time and went on the NBC studio tour. I was a big Seinfeld fan. I got this mug along with the Seinfeld hat, and I walked around trying to look like a real New Yorker, because all the real New Yorkers, you know, as now I know, since I've been a few times since then, wear Seinfeld hats and walk around sipping Seinfeld mugs. So that's good stuff. So anyway, so yes, welcome to the show. Once again, this is the pre-show portion of the Midnight Citizen. We got some cool stuff for you here, some new stuff. So I've retooled the broadcast. So, you know, we've got a couple of title cards here. We got the Midnight Citizen logo here. The other Midnight Citizen logo, both of those logos were done, of course, by the resident Midnight Citizen artist, Josh Davenport. I don't think he knows that he is the resident Midnight Citizen artist, but a couple of times in the past I've asked him to do logos for my shows. This one is like the kind of, I asked him for like an 80s motif. Could you do an 80s motif, Josh? Because I talk a lot about, you know, growing up in the 80s. I was alive for about 8 years in the 80s. I wasn't really there for most of it, not in a conscious way anyway. But nevertheless, I was there in some way, in some kind of way. Yeah, I like the overall design of 80s stuff, as I think a lot of people do now. So there's a triangle, an Illuminati triangle in the Midnight Citizen there. It kind of looks like an old video tape distribution company logo there. And then a couple of years later, I wanted him to do something that kind of was more in line with like Birmingham. So that's what that is right there. If anybody who sees this logo is not from Birmingham and wondering what that logo is, that's supposed to be the Vulcan. You know, here in Birmingham we have we have our own Statue of Liberty of sorts called the Vulcan. You know, it was the god of the forge. You know, because Birmingham was a big iron and steel town, and so he stands up there in Red Mountain. This is the statue was introduced at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair in St. Louis, Missouri. Is that right? Yeah, St. Louis, Missouri. Is that the World's Fair where they introduced the big arch, the gateway to the West? I don't know. I kind of feel like it is. Every city that's had a big World's Fair has one of those arches. So anyway. But yeah, they gave that as a gift to Birmingham, probably because nobody wanted to take it home with them. You know, and it's been sitting there at the top of Red Mountain ever since, and it's a nice park, a nice place where a lot of Birmingham history is housed. And the Vulcan in real life is not holding a cup of coffee and smoking a cigar. My buddy Josh put that in for me because he knows that on the show I like to drink coffee and occasionally have cigars. So there it is. So anyway, so we got a 2-camera setup. Of course, this is the new webcam. I was not expecting to have a new web camera or new headphones. I actually have new headphones this week too. But after last week, my kitten, who I've been breaking, I kind of want to break it, gets into my office if I don't close the door, and likes to chew on wires. So he got in here last week and made a feast out of my expensive $90 headphone cord and my web camera. So I had to get new ones this week. So thank God, Amazon credit cards. So yeah, so we got all that here this week. And so yeah, we got another camera. This is slightly brighter, slightly grainier, and lower frame rate camera on the computer. We also got, while we play music tonight, I'll be cutting to this title card with kind of the Birmingham skyline in the background. I like the Midnight Citizen. It's a Birmingham show. I love my city, and I want to promote it, and I want to be there. I'm here in beautiful downtown Birmingham right now as we do the show. And then we got that too. And so then we'll go to the browser also, and we'll go to the Video Street video store. So anyway, so yeah, that's everything that's set up tonight. So I'm really excited, and I'm gonna just make sure that everything's in line. Check the check the feed. I am live once again tonight. That's how you're watching me, and we're gonna be ready to go here shortly. So yeah, stick around. There is more Midnight Citizen to come, all right?
It's all I could do to keep up with you. And I had to learn to craft, 'cause I don't move as fast. And I've taken the time to study your side, and I till I browse with the ancients. And I've got sonic maps and pictographs, so I won't overstay my welcome. And I've got sonic maps and pictographs, and if you like them, you're more than welcome. I'm still a sucker for hardcore beauty, and I left the mountains so I can regain my sense. I have this bird in hand and I offer it to the wind. And I've got sonic maps and pictographs, so I won't overstay my welcome. And I've got sonic maps and pictographs, like 'em, or you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I've been watching all night long. I've been watching that show, The Comeback, on HBO with my wife. The show that they made for the first time in 2005, and then they brought it back, ironically, in 2015. Show with Lisa Kudrow where she plays an actress who was on a big show in the 90s, and she's trying to make a comeback on a new show in the early 2000s, and she's just fighting to stay relevant again. And I got to tell you, it's a great show, just very, very addictive. When the first time it came on in 2005, it was not a big hit at all, because Lisa Kudrow is a very unlikable character, and that was really in the time when it was not normal to have unlikable characters on television. And but ironically, the show was brought back years later because people rediscovered it, I guess, on demand or on DVD or whatever, and they liked it so much. So they brought it back for a second season about 5 years ago. And this is the first time I'm watching it since then. It's just such a great show. So it's very hard to get away from that tonight to come in here and do a show, but I'm glad I'm here. Glad you're with me. I told my wife, when I came in, it's always a challenge to tell her, you can keep watching it. No, don't worry about it. I'll catch up later. And she's like, no, I want to finish watching it with you, And so that's always the challenge, and one of the reasons that I stopped doing the show for so long is because I just, on Saturday nights, which is one of the rare nights that my wife and I really get to spend with each other, where we don't have to get up the next day and go to work or anything. She, I don't want to leave her alone and come in here and do the show, but during the summer it's kind of a different story. But, but she's very supportive. She's okay with it. And I just went in there to make my coffee, and she turned on True Detective, the first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. And I was like, damn it, man, I want to sit down and watch the show now, so that's okay. I don't need droopy, stressy, depressy, brooding Matthew McConaughey in my life right now. If I want to brood, I can come in here and do it with you. Okay, so it looks like we're all set. Everything is looking good. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and start the show. Why not? Let's get it underway. Okay. And yeah, we're about to do the countdown. Let's go. This is exciting, isn't it? Hey now. Tonight's thought. Improvisation, like improv theater, seems to get a bad rap. Nobody really seems to like it, even though it's something that we do every day. Yeah, something that I noticed this week while watching some shows with improv comedy in it, improv theater, and talking to people about improv comedy, people generally don't seem to like it that much. And if you do improv comedy, okay, a lot of people do like you. All right, and if you like improv comedy, a lot of people are with you. I'm one of them. I mean, if it's done well, like anything else, if it's done well. And I think when you throw out the term improv, people immediately think comedy, but it's not always comedy. Improv drama sounds awful. But improvisation it's a theater technique, It's a technique of preparing for scripted theater. And it's an art form in and of itself. So when people say improvisational theater, what they're really referring to is, the technique and the art form. So a lot of people seem to groan when you say improv. It's like, oh God, because I think they're thinking of bad improv, because it's a very common thing, of course, to see bad improv. Because good improv is very rare. It's a very rare, thing to see something like that. I've seen bad improv more than I've seen good improv, and you know. But this week I was watching a couple of things that had improv in it, you know, as like a theme or whatever. So I was watching on Netflix. There was this comedy special that came out. It was a 3-episode deal called Middleditch and Schwartz. And it's these two guys, and they do long-form improv. And if you watch Silicon Valley, the main nerd on that show, Richard Hendricks, the guy's name is Thomas Middleditch. That's the Middleditch. And then if you watch Parks and Recreation, the guy on that show who plays like John Ralphio, you know, the cool hip kid on that show. That's Ben Schwartz. So they're Middleditch and Schwartz. And little did I know that they have a stage show that they've been doing for years. It's an improvisational stage show, and they'll come out and people will tell them essentially about something in their lives that they're looking forward to. Like, I'm looking forward to going to graduate school, or I'm dreading a job interview, you know, and I'm looking forward to a wedding. And they'll have like about 3 minutes of back and forth with these people in the audience, and they'll interview them. And then for the next hour, Middleditch and Schwartz will just take the stage, and they'll come up with a long form improv. They'll create completely original characters on the spot, in unique situations that are all inspired by a group of people in the audience. Okay. And when my wife first put this on the other day, because my wife is very much into theater, and she does theater. She doesn't do too much improv, although her mother is a very well-renowned and well-regarded improvisational teacher. She has been for years, ever since, you know, she went to school in London, and she's been teaching improv for years, and she's based in Savannah, Georgia, and teaches all over the Southeast and travels a lot teaching it. She was actually going to travel to Ireland, but of course that got canceled due to COVID. So, like everything else in this world, got canceled due to COVID. So Jessica wanted to put it on because she has this interest in improv, and I was like, oh God, I don't know if I could stand there and watch people make stuff up for an hour. But I was like, hey, it's on Netflix, it must be good. So, just like everything on Netflix until you find out that it's bad, and Netflix just buys stuff without thinking about it. But this was good. We watched all 3 episodes in one night. It was about a 3-hour-long affair with this show called Middleditch and Schwartz, watching these guys create scenes and characters, and all of it's inspired by just a 3-minute back and forth with a group of people in the audience, and I thought that was really interesting. They did a good job. You should check it out, Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix. And then we watched this other show called, I guess it was a movie, called Don't Think Twice, and this is actually the second time we've seen this show, or movie. And this is a narrative film. It's not improvised, but it's about a group of improvisational theater actors in New York City, which of course sounds like the worst thing ever, because you're watching a bunch of people. You know, I don't know if you've ever been in theater, but when I was in college, I was constantly in the theater department. I had a lot of friends in the theater department. And I would go to theater parties, and while I met a lot of people there who I still know to this day and who are really dear friends, I just said dear friends, theater people tend to be very self-serving. You know, they're always on stage, even when they're not on stage. They always have to perform, they always have to be over the top, and that's nice in small doses. And you would never, ever want to intentionally, you know, go into a situation like that unless you're, you know, invited or you're trying to be nice. So this movie about improv actors in New York called Don't Think Twice is actually very good because it's about these people who treat improvisation as, you know, an end game. They treat it as the final product. And I think that kind of goes counterintuitive to a lot of improv actors, because a lot of improv actors tend to think of improvisation, like specifically improvisational comedy, is something like a stepping stone that gets them to something else. Like a lot of people on Saturday Night Live, which is a scripted show, ended up doing or began doing Second City in Chicago, and they did the Groundlings in Los Angeles, and Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York. And it's never an end game. It's always a means to an end, improv. But this is a movie about people who just love improv. They love being in the moment. They love creating these moments that are here right now and then they're going to be gone tomorrow. And so I was thinking a lot about this week after seeing these two improv shows, about why people seem to not really, I wouldn't say like just outright detest improv, but they're really prone to not like it. If they're going to go see a theater, they want to go see a scripted show, or they want to sit down and they want to watch a scripted television series or a reality television series that's probably more scripted than most scripted reality or television shows. They want to watch a movie or read a book or listen to music. They don't want to watch people just try to come up with stuff on the spot. And I think it's just because they're nervous about watching improv actors who start out with no information. They have absolutely no idea what they're going to be doing once they get on the stage, so there's kind of this collective tension. But I've been to some improv shows, and there's always that moment when the first joke lands successfully, and it gets a huge laugh from the audience, and this tension is released. But most people will never get to that because they're just afraid of that moment, that uncertain moment where the room is silent and the actors are standing on stage and nobody in the room knows what's going to happen next. So I think that's why people are very hesitant to enjoy improv. And it's interesting to me, because we live in a world right now where we strive to kind of document everything that happens to us every moment of the day. Because we want to capture these little moments that will just be right here happening in the moment, and we want to capture them and put them in there forever, put them in that little box in our pocket called our phone. Whereas improv kind of embraces this idea that no, these moments are here and then they're going to be gone. They're fleeting. This lightning is striking and it's never going to strike that same place ever again. I think, again, people just don't like that idea. They want things recorded for posterity. They always want to look back at them. So, again, I think improv seems to get a bad rap, but, we improvise every single day. I think it's just a little bit too much reality for us. That may be why. I don't know. Well, from Birmingham, Alabama, on a Saturday night, this is the Midnight Citizen Show. Welcome. I'm your host, Mike Booty. Nice to have you here tonight. So, yes, here in the Midnight Citizen studio. And it's a beautiful night outside. It's been rainy. Been a rainy week. Talking about lightning striking, we actually had lightning strike right outside this very Midnight Citizen studio window the other night. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Have you ever been in the eye of the storm? It's basically when thunder and lightning both happen at the exact same moment. And there was just this brilliant flash of light outside, and we just, it was so loud. And we went outside later. It turns out that lightning actually struck this tree right outside my house here. You could see the line going right up and down the tree. And a huge chunk of that tree, this oak that had probably been standing here since, God made it, fell down on the power lines and actually fell down in the very spot where my wife parks her car every single day. My wife, our car could have been destroyed, and my wife, thank God she wasn't in it, could have been gone as well. That was a scary moment, one of those moments that humbles you before nature, totally. So, Yeah, it's not been it's been an indoor week in here in Birmingham is what I'll say. Yeah, so had thunder, lightning, all that. It's been scary. Anyway, so yeah, we are live tonight from the Midnight Citizen studio. I am live streaming right now on YouTube. Welcome in if you're watching live here at 11:30 on July 25th, 2020. Of course, you can always watch these live streams later. They are recorded for posterity. This is an improvised, mostly, show. I go off of a loose set of notes. But I do not embrace that idea that, you know, this is here now and gone tomorrow. No, this will be here forevermore as long as YouTube survives. And keeps me up and hopefully doesn't notice little bits of copyrighted music I play here and there. But yeah, we are there. So yeah, you could also interact with me live right now. If you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MikeBooty. You can go on there and interact with me live, and I'll read comments, definitely. I won't read comments in the middle of my show, because I'm, you know, doing a show. But during breaks that I will take tonight, I will certainly look and see what you guys say. So yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff tonight. Got music. We got videos. We got, we got one guy over-caffeinated and talking about his life. So yeah, stick around. So yeah, I never did improv theater. Scares me, the idea of, you know, getting up on a stage and with no script. It scares me getting on stage with a script. I mean, I'm not a theater guy at all. You know, getting up in front of people and performing for them. I know you can argue that's what I'm doing right now, with this show being live and everything, and even with people listening to me in the future. You know, they are no doubt making judgments of me right now, and it's a chilling feeling. It really is, but. You know, again, I think if it's something you want to do enough, you know, you're open to the concept, you're open to the idea of it, you know. But improvisational theater has been around almost as long as theater itself, and it's you know, it's a technique and it's an art form. The idea is that you get up there and you just let go. You let go of all of your inhibitions and all of your fears, and somebody gives you a prompt. Like, you know, like somebody may say, you're a grave digger, you know, so you start digging that grave, and then you got to say something, right? And then you just kind of create this reality in the moment on the stage, and anybody who's on the stage with you has to accept that reality, and they have to add to it. It's called yes-anding, you know. Yes and. And of course, you know, back in the day when I took theater as an elective in college, when I was a freshman in college, we had to do improv, and it shook me to the core, because the last thing you want to do when you're, you know, sitting in a new class where you don't know anybody on the first day is get up and make an ass out of yourself. But that's what improv made you do, right? And you know, from that very first day, I was always opposed to the idea of it. But, you know, here we are, though, improv theater, carrying out the tradition. You know, it's been going on since apparently the 4th century A.D. You know, they used to do it in Italian street theater in the 18th and 19th centuries. But American improvisational theater, as we think of it today, comes really from Chicago. And I remember back in the day, back in 2007, when I went to Chicago a couple of times that year, I made it a point to go to the Second City both times that year. Because the Second City is kind of like ground zero for improvisational comedy, especially all of those great talents who went on to Saturday Night Live, who we now, lionize as the geniuses of comedy in the second half of the 20th century, which is really like, anybody, there, as far as a lot of us are concerned, there was no comedy before Saturday Night Live. I mean, in terms of like, the comedy universe. And I know that a lot of old-time radio people are getting really angry at me right now because old-time radio, with your Vic and Sade and your Amos and Andy, that was all very important as well, But comedy didn't really get going for, my generation, of course, until Saturday Night Live. And we grew up, like people my age grew up watching, of course, like Chris Farley and Adam Sandler. And all those guys, that frat pack group of guys there on Saturday Night Live in the early 90s. But of course, we also know Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, and Bill Murray and all those guys. John Belushi, of course. So, all of those guys started in Chicago before they came to New York and they did National Lampoon. And then they got Saturday Night Live. But all those guys came from this place in Chicago called the Second City that was started in the 1960s by people like Paul Sills. And Paul Sills had been the son of Viola Spolin, who kind of modernized improvisational theater as a way to loosen up actors and have them find characters organically and naturally rather than through research and the method, right? So Viola Spolin is somebody who taught improvisational theater and created this whole school of thought of improv that was basically a short form based on games. This is like your Whose Line Is It Anyway stuff, where people are given suggestions from the audience, or they pull out ideas from a hat, and then they have to, kind of interact with that. And so these are more like games, these are things that you might play in like an office setting in order to loosen people up and get everybody to know each other. Improvisational theater is apparently really big in the modern offices of today as like ice-breaking techniques, But yeah, that's what my mother-in-law does. My mother-in-law teaches Spolin-based improv to theater actors, to get them to find their space and loosen up a little bit in front of people, And I've gone and taken her class, and my mom has even gone, and my sister. And they've gone and taken their classes because even though they don't do theater, they're teachers. And, teachers are constantly on their feet having to improvise and adapt to new realities that their students create, right? So yeah, that happened in the 1960s in the Second City in Chicago. Was they created this form of improv that went back to Viola Spolin. And then people like Del Close created this thing called the Herald. And the Herald is like this kind of long-form improv. This is what Middleditch and Schwartz did on that Netflix show I was talking to you a few minutes ago about. Middleditch and Schwartz did this, the Herald is this idea that you create this, this story that may span for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even an hour or two, which would be brutal. But you take a very small sliver of information there at the very beginning, and then you create characters and you create themes, and you're constantly coming back to those characters and themes, and you use that to build an entire story. Which again, I think kind of scares a lot of people because they would rather see, something that's scripted and well thought out. But I think like really good improvisers can create a world that's just as natural and just as alive as anything that a playwright can create over months and months and months and drafts and drafts and drafts, So that's the Herald, and the Herald I don't think is really even used that much anymore when people think about improvisational theater. That's why I was so surprised to see this show on Netflix, because it's just the idea of sitting there and watching people just come up with stuff on the spot, never breaking away from that story for, a very long time, is kind of off-putting. So, But yeah, no, I mean, when I was growing up, though, Whose Line Is It Anyway was one of my favorite shows on Comedy Central. They used to show at the British show with that, old British guy who would sit there and he would, give suggestions to like 4 improvisers on stage, like Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery. And I just thought it was like the funniest stuff in the world, but I had no idea until later on when I found out about the Second City that no, this is actually an entire, art form. It's not just people making funny faces on the, at the spur of the moment. There's really a lot of art that goes into this, and it's something that embraces that idea that life is unpredictable, life is made up, on the spot. So. So, why am I talking about all this tonight? Well, the thing is that I can't talk about improv at all without remembering the time that I did do improv. I didn't just do improv with, with some class or anything like that. I actually took an improv class with the Second City. The ground zero of improvisational theater, something that anybody who knows anything about comedy lionizes, the Second City in Chicago. But I didn't go to Chicago. They actually came to me. So this was back in 2002 in the fall. And I had joined a sketch comedy group here in Birmingham. They were called Happy Nowhere as a writer, and did not want to get on stage, didn't want to perform at all. But obviously, as a 19-year-old kid who had just graduated high school and was in college and in a sketch comedy group that, we had sold out our first show. We nearly sold out our second show. I really thought that we were, something. And we were good. We had good sketches. I mean, give me like, an hour or so back in those days, and I could sit down and write 2 or 3 sketches, And it was almost like improvising. I was just using a pen and my mind rather than just getting up on stage and doing it, with my body, right? So when the Second City came through, I was really nerding out over them because that was the time that I was starting to really get into comedy, And, I was very much into Saturday Night Live at the time. I would come home every single day between classes, and I would get a pizza and a Coke and totally be unhealthy. And I would sit down, and Comedy Central would always air reruns of The Kids in the Hall, the Canadian sketch show. And I was getting into Mr. Show in the State and all these sketch comedy shows, and just really, I was watching stand-up comedy every Friday night. When it would come on Comedy Central, they would do these big blocks of stand-up comedy. So I was really just living, breathing, and working comedy back then. And it was just my obsession. One of these things that you just find out suddenly that you're obsessed with. And you've got all these friends who are obsessed with it too. So when the Second City came through Birmingham, they were going to do a show. They had a touring company, and they were going to do a show. And we got tickets to go see that show, my sketch comedy friends and I. And we also found out that not only were they going to do a show, they were actually going to host a sample workshop, earlier that day at the theater where they were doing the show. And it was like tickets, it was like $40 to do the show. And I was floored at this price because, you could travel up to Chicago and anybody can go in and take, lessons with the Second City. And if you're good enough, you might actually even be able to, get cast in their shows, right? But I was floored because they were coming down to me. They were saying, like, you could take this class as well. So, of course, we signed up for the class. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I was going to be humiliated in front of these improv professionals, But anyway, there I was. The first thing they did is we got on stage. They made us stand in a circle, and every time somebody pointed to us, we had to make like a weird sound and movement with our body. It was all incredibly fun. Everybody was in good spirits. And there were a lot of people from my sketch comedy group there. There were also these other people that I knew from an actual improv theater, an improv company here in town. That I won't say that our sketch comedy group was competing with them, but that was also, I think that was kind of the mindset between certain members of both groups. It's been long enough. I think I can tell this. I think I can air this dirty laundry. Some of us didn't like each other. And I may have been like the new kid on the block who just kind of went with the herd. Like, we were kind of like the Sharks and the Jets of Birmingham comedy theater. So we were there, but we weren't trying to outshine each other. And, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't like about improv is because they kind of think of it as like people getting on stage and trying to get, laughs over everybody else on stage and trying to outshine each other. But I think it was all in good spirits. I think we were all doing pretty well there, So, I don't know. When I get this idea of improv, of what an improv class looks like, I think there's this old episode of The Office. If you watch that show, where Steve Carell on that show, he plays the unlikable boss, who's always doing cringeworthy things. There's an episode where he goes to an improv class because he's one of these guys who just wants to get up there and, perform, kind of exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. I did not want to get up and perform at all. I was just doing it because my friends were doing it. And the Second City, this is like, I guess I was seeing it at the time. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to take classes with the Second City. But in every town though, there is, an improv class that you can go and take. You just got to pay your dues every week. So there's this episode of The Office where Michael Scott goes to one of these improv classes, And so every time he comes out to do an improv scene, he's constantly pulling out a gun, He's not yes-anding people. Everybody else is creating these realities, like somebody on the show is a fortune teller, or somebody is on the show is like a doctor, and he's constantly pretending to break down a door and hold a gun out in front of him with his fingers and say, "Freeze, I'm Detective Michael Scott," And he's constantly saying that because he believes on the show, and his character says on the show, that the most exciting thing that can happen in life is that somebody has a gun. So that's why I always come out with a gun in my improv scenes, because nobody can top a gun. Nobody can beat a gun. It's too exciting, which is going against the complete idea of improv. You're supposed to accept the reality of other people's characters, and you're not supposed to try and top them. You're supposed to meet them and then add on to the scene, So that's typically what I think about when I think of an improv class. But this improv class that I took with the Second City, this was not like it. Everybody was feeding off each other and doing pretty well. And the other day when my wife and I were watching this Middleditch and Schwartz show, and then that Don't Think Twice movie, I was telling her about this time that I took classes with the Second City, and she was just like, what? Why didn't you ever tell me this before? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't think it was a big deal. And she's like, of course it's a big deal. Like, do you know how big they are? And I'm like, of course I know how big they are. Chris Farley, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, all those guys, right? I knew how big the Second City was. And she was like, well, tell me about it. What'd you do? And I was like, I don't even remember. And we just went on with our night and made dinner and all that. And I'm here to tell you right now that that's actually a lie. I remember exactly what happened during that Second City class. And I'm about to tell you the reason why I didn't tell her about it. Got to get some of that smooth jazz going. So, why didn't I tell my wife about it? Well, okay. So I'm doing this scene up there with somebody else in the class who's actually in the, I won't say competing improv troupe, but the other improv troupe that some members of our sketch comedy group and some members of their improv troupe thought were fighting and competitive, right? And so there's a little bit of pressure on me to be good. to show this competing improv troupe in Birmingham. By the way, for the record, their name was Torrential Downplay. What we were all about, what we were all about, what our sketch group Happy Nowhere was all about, and that we were better. And I think that I was feeling a little bit of pressure here, and maybe that was just me, but I was feeling that I had to perform better, right? So I was going against the spirit of improv. I was going against the spirit of yes-anding, as they had told us to do, right? All right, so the scene opens, and this very nice lady who's part of the improv troupe, her name's Debbie. She comes out on the stage, and Debbie is a doctor. Debbie's playing a doctor, and she's saying like, your wife, everything went well with your wife. The delivery went very well. It's a very nice, healthy baby. He does have 2 heads, okay, and this got a laugh from the audience and all that. So I'm sitting there, or I'm standing there on the stage, and I'm like, okay, so she just said that she gave birth to a baby. So I'm a husband, and I'm a concerned husband waiting there in the waiting room. So obviously I'm very nervous, so I start pacing back and forth, and I think my instincts are pretty good there. And I said, well, man, okay, so that baby, so you're saying it has 2 heads? And she said, yes. And the baby also can talk, and it says, where's my daddy? So I'm standing there and being like, okay, she just gave me something else, a new reality. I have to, I'm now the father of a 2-headed talking baby. Okay, fine. So what I did at that point is I said, well, nurse, I just don't know if I can deal with that. And at that moment, I pretended as if I reached into my pocket, and I came out with my hands formed into an L pattern, and I pretended to hand that L to Debbie, and I said, here, just shoot the baby. It's not really good. Shoot the baby music. I don't need Clint Eastwood playing the piano here. Now, let's get some mean old music here. There we go. So there was dead air in the audience, in the house. And I remember looking in the back of the house, if I was on the stage during an actual show, there would be lights. I wouldn't be able to see further than about a row or 2 back into the audience. But I could see people way in the back there. The house was empty except for the improv group and, some of the waiters getting ready for that night's show. And I think I even heard some of the waiters just stop in their tracks and some glasses clinking on their trays. Just all eyes were on me. It was like I had 2 heads, right? And they all wanted to shoot me with an L-shaped finger, and it was bad. So Michael Scott was indeed right. Nobody could actually top my gun. So, I tell you what, so, oh boy. This whole story turned out to be longer than I thought, but, again, this show is improvisation, so I'm saying yes to the mistakes, and I'm hoping I'm accepting the reality, so yeah. So, hope you're enjoying the show tonight. I'm going to take a break for a minute, play some music for you, and we will be back. Stick around. This is the Midnight Citizen Show. right. Hot damn, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that music break there. Yeah, that's some great music. After all. I'm not sure how to say the name of that first song without making... like without saying a bad word. We're just going to say it's another name for wanting to date the dead, okay? By Dr. Frankenstein from the album The Cursed Tapes. It's a great song. Not a family-friendly name, but it's a good song. And after that, the one that you just heard was Evil Itch by the Space Merchants. That was from, they were live at WFMU. I'll remind you that, of course, as always, all the music that I play on this show, the music breaks anyway, is from the freemusicarchive.org that is run by WFMU, that great independent station in New Jersey. They're up there. So, yeah, you can find the Free Music Archive on the freemusicarchive.org. And if you're doing a show like a podcast or a movie or anything like that, you can use all that music totally free as long as you attribute it properly per the Creative Commons license, which I just did, okay, and I will do in the show notes. So yeah, check it out. It's a great resource. I've been using it for years. So welcome back into the Midnight Citizen studio. And I got a little bit of scotch here, some J&B scotch. And, you know, under normal circumstances, I would toast it to having a good show on a nice night. But tonight is going to be sort of a sad toast, but not so much, because we are going to, you know, briefly remember the long and storied career of broadcaster Regis Philbin, legendary titan of broadcasting in the 20th century, who passed away today at the age of 88 from natural causes. And we've lost a lot of good ones lately. We lost Carl Reiner, another legendary broadcaster. I also got word that we lost John Saxon, star of Nightmare on Elm Street and Enter the Dragon, you know, legendary character actor. So you know, we've lost a lot of good talent, as happens. You know, it seems like every single day you're waking up to, you know, somebody died. And you know, the best thing you can do is remember their lives and give them a little bit of a toast, a nice little, you know, alcoholic send-off. You know, but Regis Philbin today, when I found out that he passed away, my friend sent me a text message, and he's the one that I always hear it from first. You know, Jason always tells me when somebody passes away, a celebrity. You know, everybody I think has that friend. So Jason is mine. But, you know, Regis kind of struck me today, because Regis is one of those guys, almost like, you know, I don't know, like Bob Costas or somebody who you just expect. He isn't really like a human, you know. He's like a superhuman, or if he's not a superhuman, he's like a robotic ball of energy. Just somebody who has been around forever, who you just don't really think about as like one of us, as a mere mortal. You know, that's Regis Philbin for you. You know, he's been around since the 1960s on television. Which I know is not that long in the grand scheme of things, but it's definitely long enough for me. You know, I was born in 82. So, you know, Regis Philbin, though, the thing that I think I remember him most for, especially here in the summer, is he was the host of Live with Regis and Kathy Lee back in the 1990s. And, you know, during the summer, that was the show that my sisters and I would watch. We couldn't agree on anything at all on television, ever, except two shows in the history of television. Okay, you go to like the National Archive of Television and Broadcasting. Okay, they're in New York, and there are out of all the millions of television shows, all of the hours that have been produced since television was invented. Okay, there are only 2 shows in that entire archive that my sisters and I agreed on, and that was The Price is Right, and it was Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Okay. So The Price is Right only because it came on after Live with Regis and Kathy Lee, you know. But yeah, Regis and Kathy Lee, you know, would have this morning talk show, and they were often parodied on Saturday Night Live with the morning latte sketch with Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry. But yeah, Regis and Kathy Lee would come on, and they would have their coffee, and they would drink out of these gigantic mugs, you know. And it was always like Regis was always like, it's great, I can't get enough of it. You know, he would just be like this over-caffeinated ball of energy, just insane. Like, you would watch this guy and you're like, man, you know, where does this guy get this energy? I'm like 11 years old watching this and I want to go to bed. So the roles were reversed. I'm supposed to be the hyperactive child, you know. And Kathy Lee would sit there and you know, and she would always have on these like very trendy 90s slip dresses with these boots and all that. I mean, I guess the way I'm describing Kathy Lee, yeah, I did have an 11-year-old crush on her, Kathy Lee Gifford, you know, who was this graduate of the, she a graduate of that Mormon school. Was she a Mormon? No, she wasn't a Mormon. She was one of those Oral Roberts Christians, yeah. So she was, she got her start in like these Christian choirs that would tour the country in the 70s, and then I think she married Frank Gifford, the football player and also a broadcaster himself. I'm like digressing. I'm supposed to be talking about Regis here, but you know, Kathy Lee would always sit there and she would drink her coffee in her slip dresses and her boots and her, you know, hair that, you know, just flowed like sunshine, and she would talk about Cody, you know, her son Cody, like, you know, let me tell you what Cody did today. And Regis would be like, it's great, I can't believe it, you know. And it would just be like this over and over, you know, every single day, every single show was the same. And then they would interview, like, I don't know, modern celebrities in the 1990s. Like, they would, I don't know, interview Ellen DeGeneres or who else in the 90s, you know, Brett Butler from Grace Under Fire. Tell us about this new show, Grace, and she's on fire. What is it? So it'd just be this insane, you know, very often parodied. Of course, my favorite bit ever on Live with Regis and Kathy was actually not on that show at all, but it was when Kramer on Seinfeld went on it. There was this episode of Seinfeld. Let me see if I can find it here. Kramer on Live. Yeah, it's the first thing that pops up. Yeah, it's a very famous bit. So, like, on this bit, you know, Kramer wrote this coffee table book about coffee tables. Okay, so he goes on, his agent has him go on Live with Regis and Kathy to promote it, you know. So here it is right here. So maybe he's going to do some of his, like, it's great, this guy, ooh, you know. So anyway, yeah, here we go.
Can I bring out our next guest now?
Please.
Young guy, he's got a new book coming out, and it's about, and this is the best part.
I love
It's a coffee table book about coffee tables. Yeah.
Is that clever? I think that is so clever.
I think so, too. Did you get to meet him backstage?
I did.
I mean, he looks like a fun guy, doesn't he?
I love his hair.
Yeah. Oh, I do, too. This guy could be a little bonkos, really. Anyway, if you will, would you please welcome Kramer?
Gives Kathy Lee like a big wet kiss.
I don't know. Yes. Great. So, a coffee table book about coffee tables.
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with this idea?
Well, I'll tell you, Regis. Actually, this is a true story. I was skiing at the time.
You know, when I'm skiing, Kramer, I'm trying not to kill myself. You're writing books.
Yeah. Well, now, you kids don't go out and try that. You stay in school.
Have you always had an interest in coffee tables? Because really, I love coffee tables,
Oh.
and I thought I was the only one.
See, the beauty of my book is, if you don't have a coffee table, it turns into a coffee table.
Look at this.
Is that
tell you this guy was bonkos?
This coffee table is full of pictures of celebrities' coffee tables.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah? Well, I'm not in there. Where's mine?
Oh, it's on file right here.
I'm telling you, this guy's bonkos. He really is.
But he's
Buddy,
adorable.
yeah, he is. He's a nice-looking guy.
Then he throws up all over her dress. So Kathy Lee's dress, yeah. So, just classic. And I was able to watch that episode of Seinfeld, and I knew exactly what they were talking about at the time there. So, yeah, that was Regis Philbin, and during that break, during that bit, he was just like, "This guy's bonkos. I'm trying not to kill myself. You're writing books." He would always have that punch to him. So anyway, and then just as Regis was starting to kind of fade from relevancy, in the late '90s, a little cultural touchstone came along called "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?" All right, so this was a big show. It's like there are these rare moments, especially like in the late 90s and early 2000s of where game shows were making a comeback, like Deal or No Deal and stuff like that. And I think they're kind of starting to see a bit of a resurgence now. But this was really just a show that came out of nowhere that just Regis Philbin hosted. And the next day, I was a junior in high school, and I went to school, and like everybody was talking about this guy who had won $1 million, and I guess it was a lot of money for a game show. But you see these people on game shows, they win a lot of money. You think like, okay, whatever, like $100,000 might as well be $1 million to me. I mean, so you don't really think of it as a huge sum of money for a game show. These shows that are supposed to be giving tons of money away. But this guy named John Carpenter had won like $1 million, and he was the first person on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to do it. And it was kind of great television, and it was like this ratings bonanza. All of a sudden, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire went from being on once a week to suddenly it was like a 4-night-a-week show. It was like every single night was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin. And he would sit there in this very black, kind of futuristic looking soundstage with an audience behind him, and some schmuck from Middle America or whatever would be across the table from him, and they would ask him like a series of 10 questions, and each question would be worth an exponentially larger amount of money. And eventually he would get to the $1 million, but of course every question got a lot harder. And, it created these catchphrases. I mean, catchphrases are not really a thing anymore. I guess now that you have more like hashtags and memes and things. But, we used to have these catchphrases that would come out in movies like, life is like a box of chocolates, or we would have show me the money, and all that, which I know Cuba Gooding Jr. wouldn't be proud of the way I just said, show me the money. But there it is. I mean, but the catchphrases that would come off the show, so you had like, I want to phone a friend. Everybody was suddenly saying, like, if they got a question that they couldn't quite answer in the moment, they would always say, I want to phone a friend, or I'd like to go to the audience for a 50-50, so they would cut off 50, 2 of the answers, 2 of the 4 multiple choice answers. Or they would say, like, I want to poll the audience, so like the audience would, be polled on what they thought was the right answer. So it would just create these catchphrases that suddenly everybody in the world was using. And of course, the big one is, that your final answer? That was my Regis, which I think he would be more disappointed up there on his cloud with his halo and his harp, if he heard me do that imitation of his voice. But so that was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And it was a really big show, and I don't know if it still comes on, but he did the first iteration of that show, and it made him an incredibly relevant celebrity there for about 2 or 3 years, in the years before American Idol came along, and reality television hasn't really been the same since. So, but yeah, Regis Philbin is just an icon of television in my lifetime. And he died today at 88 years old. So I'm gonna drink a little bit of a toast here. And if you're drinking whiskey, or anything at home, anything of the like, raise your glasses, and we'll do a toast to Regis Philbin here, along with some nice slow driving blues music. Here's to you, sir. It was your final answer. No. Yeah, well, anyway. So, I didn't want to drink all that in one go. Even though I know that's what you're supposed to do when you drink a toast. You're supposed to shoot it, but at least that's what I've always been told. Because I've still got more show to do. Yeah, absolutely. So here we are now. We're at the we're at the end of July and going into early August, and I've been doing Midnight Citizen shows all summer long. I think this is my 8th show of the summer that I've done since late May, and I'm going to be starting school in a couple of weeks. I'm having to go into school a little bit more each week to get ready to. Because even though this has been a bummer summer of 2020, and everybody's depressed and everybody's at home, and we're not quite quarantining anymore, but we're definitely not over this pandemic. We're still going back to school in a couple of weeks. We had to go back, and all the teachers are working hard to socially distance all their kids and. Just put hand sanitizers everywhere, and it's quite a job. But it's just we got to recognize the fact that we're going to be living with this for a long time, and so we need to continue to get on with our daily lives, right? And just make the best of it, and try not to make each other sick, and do what we can, right? So it's been a very grim time, but I think society is coming along quite well together at the moment. A few weeks ago, you would go outside, even though people have been recommending, doctors have been recommending, Fauci have been recommending for months for people to wear masks. People are finally taking this thing seriously. And the stores are as well. I got to tell you, a few weeks ago, I went into the Piggly Wiggly down the street here to get some groceries. And I forgot my mask at home. So, I covered my mouth up and just went inside, and pretty soon I realized I didn't even have to do that. There were a lot of people in there without masks. And this week I did the same thing. I woke up early one day, realized we were out of milk, so I had to go down to the Pig again, and because I was half tired and hadn't had my coffee yet, I forgot my mask. So I walked into the Pig, and I tried to do the same thing, covered my mouth up. I went in, somebody stopped me. And they were like, "Sir, you gotta put a mask on." I was like, "I forgot it. Can I just come in and get one thing really quickly?" And they're like, "No. But I'll tell you what I can do," they said. I can get you a mask. So they went behind the counter and they got me a mask. And I thought that was incredibly nice. They were, I think, like, people are just doing what they can to help people, wear masks and socially distance and everything. And I think it's been a very tough year, but, and I hate to sound like one of those cheery, inspirational commercials that you see now while you're just trying to relax in front of the television and forget about this pandemic and quarantine and all that. I think that people are coming together as a society in a way that I haven't seen since maybe, I don't know, the weeks following 9/11. I think we are doing a pretty good job of it right now. So anyway. So yeah, here we are, though, in the final weeks of summer vacation. I know summer isn't officially over until like mid-September or something like that, but to me, it's the end of summer. Just like the middle of May is the beginning of summer. School's going back, and during the summer, I always feel, and I've been saying this for ever since I started teaching, I always have this tendency to revert back to what I was like when I was in high school and I had summer. Because once you leave high school, summer vacation kind of goes away. This idea of being out of school and being free of responsibility for 3 months, it just goes away. Because in college, it never happened where I had a summer free. I was always working. or I was attending summer classes and sessions and all that. So when I suddenly got a teaching job a few years ago, school ended in May, and I'm like, okay, well, here I am. What am I supposed to do now? Right. And even though as an adult, you have work has a funny way of finding you. You end up with things to do as an adult with a summer break, but like teaching summer camp and tutoring and all that. But nevertheless, I still find myself during summer reverting to my childhood, to being a teenager, I guess you could say, and just wanting to slack all day, sit around, watch movies, just drive around with nowhere in particular to go. And it's this amazingly free feeling that I get there in the summertime. And what usually ends up happening is I kind of want to watch, when I sit down to watch movies, I want to watch movies that reinforce that idea of being, of meandering and being a slacker. A couple weeks ago, I did a show about that movie Slacker, that Richard Linklater movie, about these people in Austin, Texas, who just don't have anything else to do all day, but just go around to bars and bother people and just talk philosophy and life and all that stuff, but I always have this soft spot in my heart during the summertime to watch movies about cool guys, just like cool guys, especially cool guys like from the 80s, because the 1980s was like the heyday of cool guys in film, and I know that Frank Abernora has talked about this in the past on his show, The Overnightscape, but I always think about cool guys this time of year. Okay, so like, what am I talking about? I'm talking kind of about like maybe like you think about like Caddyshack, the movie Caddyshack. You got that cool kid in that movie who's just like riding his bike, and he's like trying to he takes that job at the Caddyshack in order to just like hit on the girls and all that. You got that kind of cool guy, or you got an adult cool guy. You got like Chevy Chase there. He plays this character in Caddyshack who's just like, he's a rich, cool guy. He's this guy who's got all this money, but he's still cool, Are you still starting to understand what I'm talking about? So what I thought tonight I would do, just really quick in the second half of the show, is I would give like a kind of cool guys Oscars, okay? Like, I would give an Oscar, how every year they do like a best actor Oscar and all that stuff. I think I'm going to do like a best cool guy, okay, Oscar. And of course I'm going to have to give you some nominations, So like, what are some nominations here? Okay, let me put on some music and here's some nominations there. Okay. All right. So, the nominations. Oh gosh, let me turn that down. The nominations for Best Cool Guy in a 1980s movie. Mark Harmon in Summer School from 1987. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to do this also. I'm going to have to play my Oscar clips, right? You know how in the Oscars they always play clips of people acting? Okay, so I guess I'll have to do the same, all right? So Mark Harmon in Summer School. Hold on just a minute. I got to put on a stupid... I got to get rid of this ad first. All right, so we got Mark Harmon in Summer School.
In this class too? I'm teaching it.
No way! Party all the time, party all the time. My girl likes to party all the time.
All right, have a seat. See who the lucky winners are. Larry Kazamayass. Where's Larry?
He's nocturnal.
Oh. Okay. Try to keep it down. Francis Grimm.
Oh, don't recall me that. The name is Chainsaw.
As in Black and Decker?
As in Texas Massacre.
Oh. Yeah, that's in here.
It's in there. They got files.
Pam House.
So Mark Harmon in this movie, he's like a cool guy. He's like a cool teacher, so kind of like me. I'm like a cool teacher with like a Hawaiian shirt and like plastic sunglasses, and he's like the cool teacher teaching summer school.
Jerome Watkins.
computer said I failed that test. The computer made an error. I recommend this time I pass.
You're gonna do well, Jerome. I can feel it. Alan Ekian?
Present. Sir.
4 brothers, 2 sisters, all straight A students. What are you doing here?
I assume there was some sort of a baby mix-up at the hospital.
Okay, so that's Mark Harmon in Summer School from 1987, the first nomination on the Cool Guy Oscars for the Midnight Citizen show. All right, the next nomination is Andrew McCarthy in Weekend at Bernie's, the yuppie cool guy. All right, let's check out Andrew McCarthy in Weekend at Bernie's.
1, 2.
Once we get rid of this ad here. So if you remember this movie, it's a film about 2 business guys who go down to their boss's beach house only to find that he's been murdered. But they really want to stay in this beach house, so they pretend that Bernie is still alive, so they could stay in the beach house all weekend.
We had a great time. Oh, hi, guys. Hi. Love you, darling. Just love you. You know, you could use a little sun. We're going out again tomorrow if you want to go. Lie on the deck, catch those rays. Don't worry. I'll help myself.
He's dead.
That's the idea, is it? Cheers.
Hey, Bernie.
Hi, Bernie.
Hey, dude, you need to pump some iron.
So, Bernie, what about your Porsche? Have you had a chance to think about my offer? You know, $30,000 is more than decent price for that car. Look, you just think about it, take your time, don't rush into anything. See you later.
Excuse me.
Harvey, you promised me a review on the front page of the Sunday Times book section.
I know, Alice, but he won't bend on it. He says there's no interest in the subject
No
matter.
interest
Pardon
in the
me.
sub.
What's the book about?
Whether Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were secretly married.
Eyes, nose, and breath.
How much
A little
though?
tuck here, a little sand there, a little lift
Do
there.
I need that much?
These people. Where did all these people come from?
Floating party. Happens every weekend. Like a drink?
No.
Yeah, I'd love some champagne, thanks.
Hey, Bernie, what a radical party. Gotta move your workout till late tomorrow afternoon, B. License mate's over for the weekend, and I had to give her your regular time. Thanks, Klaus, I got it.
See you, Buck.
Yeah. Ah, feels good, eh, Bern? You're really loose. Never seen you this relaxed before. Keep it up, huh? I gotta go. Duty calls.
Yeah, you didn't get to see much of Andrew McCarthy as the yuppie cool guy in that scene, but that's okay. He's cool in that movie. You just have to take my word for it, okay? His agent didn't send over a good clip. Okay. Next up on the list, we have Kirk Cameron, the Christian cool guy in Growing Pains. After we get rid of that ad. All right. This is a best of compilation. That's the best I could find.
One fascinating aspect of tonight's crowd is its broad age range. And if I'm not mistaken, evidence of this cross-generational appeal is right here. Excuse me, young man, did you attend this evening's concert with your father?
Who wants to know?
All of the tri-state area. This is Newsline, New York. Sir, is this your son?
Hey, the big fella here, not only is this my son, this is my best buddy.
Tell me, sir, isn't it unusual for a father and a son to attend a rock and roll concert together?
No, no way. No, not in our family, not in any family that loves each other, right?
All right, so that scene was more about reacting than acting. Yeah, we can just forget about Kirk Cameron. He's not going to win it. All right, Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Somebody that I know everybody always mentions Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's very cliched. He is a very cool guy from the 80s. He's kind of the quintessential cool guy from the 80s, you know. He's got this sense of serendipity. Nothing gets to him. He's always able to pull these pranks and get adults to look the other way while nobody else seems to be able to. But again, I think all cliches are cliches for a good reason. This is a great performance by Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off from 1986.
Hello, may I help you?
You can sure as hell try. Hi, I'm Abe Froman. Party of 3 for 12. Is there a problem?
You're Abe Froman.
That's right. I'm Abe Froman.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, that's me.
Listen, young man, entre nous, I'm very busy here. Why don't you take the kids and go back to the clubhouse?
Are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am?
I'm suggesting that you leave before I have to get snooty.
Snooty?
Snotty.
Snotty?
Okay, Abe, let's go.
No, I'm not going anywhere. No, we like to be seated.
Listen, young man, either you take the field trip outside or I'm going to have to call the police.
You're gonna call the police on me?
Yes.
Fine. As a matter of fact, I'll call them myself.
Yes. Call the police.
This will be a hoot.
Here, give me the phone. I have another call.
Huh.
I've had enough of this horsing around. Give me the phone back.
You touch me, I yell rat. There's another phone around here somewhere. Find it.
Wonderful. I weep for the future.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Just a fantastic performance there, and just the guy that everybody wants to be. I think there was actually Ferris Bueller inspired. I think it inspired like a TV show. It also inspired a show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which is about this kid who had like this whole secret lair in his locker. He opened his locker and used to step into it. So Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Yeah, there was a cult around Ferris Bueller. I think just everybody wanted to be that guy, you know. And then finally, the final nomination for the 80s Cool Guy Oscars here at the Midnight Citizen Show is Michael J. Fox from anything. Michael J. Fox was amazing, even in Family Ties, where he played that, you know, right-wing dork. Michael J. Fox is the kind of, to me, the original cool guy from 80s movies. Of course, once we get through this ad, I'll show you why. I couldn't think of any specific movie, but he was great in Back to the Future, Doc Hollywood, The Secret to My Success, and of course this scene from Teen Wolf, one of the first movies that I ever remember watching. So there we go.
Styles, where the hell did you get this? Hey, Harry's used cars, man. We traded in the Nova, even swap. Swap? Get out of here. How much extra did you pay for this? It's an even swap. For certain consideration. Looky here. Oh. Styles.
Hey, surf's up?
Yeah, surf is definitely up. Well, let's go pick up Lewis, okay? What? Styles, come on, what is it with Lewis? He's avoiding me, right? He's scaring me. Look, man, we got some fine new wheels, we got some good tunes, and a total disregard for public safety. You're right, okay, let's go. All right, surf's up. Wait a minute. These waves are mine.
We'll all be planning out a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our surfboard.
So for those listeners who aren't watching live, he's surfing on top of the van, which is just so cool and dangerous.
Tell the teacher we're surfing USA. Pacific Palisades, San Onofre and Sun, Redondo Beach and LA, all over La Jolla and Waimea Bay.
So of course, if you've never seen Teen Wolf, Teen Wolf is a movie about the the cool guy that exists in us all. It's a movie that says that we all can be cool, you know, if we really want to. So, and there you have it, the nominations for this year's Cool Guy Oscars. I don't know if there's going to be one next year, because there hasn't been an 80s cool guy in, well, you know, 30 years. So anyway, all right. So once again, those nominees are Mark Harmon in Summer School, Andrew McCarthy in Weekend at Bernie's, Kirk Cameron on Growing Pains. He's not going to win. You can forget about him. Matthew Broderick in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Michael J. Fox in Just About Anything. And the Oscar goes to... They're all winners. Why not? Yeah, they're all winners. Yay. All right. There we go. But Michael J. Fox. Yeah, Michael J. Fox just was so cool. Just that quintessential cool guy. I think because he was just real, he had a very natural, real acting style to him. You could really believe that all of that stuff was really happening to him in the movies, and he would just, like, kind of roll with it, you know. Like in Back to the Future, he was a bit of a dork in Back to the Future. I think everybody forgets that. He wasn't really that cool in Back to the Future. At least not to the reality of the world of Hill Valley, you know. He was cool to us watching him because we got to see, you know, there was a bit of, you know, dramatic irony going on. You know, we knew his situation. We knew how cool it was just from the situation of having like a machine where you could go back in time, right? But everybody in the movie treated him like he was a dweeb, you know, but he was cool. He always outsmarted Biff, you know. And he got his parents back together. I mean, that to me is a pretty cool guy right there. So. Well, yeah, we're rocking and rolling here on the Midnight Citizen Show. I have a couple of comments to respond to, past shows I'd like to get to and address. Yeah, regarding last week's show, Kevin sent me a very thoughtful Facebook message regarding what I was saying about Unsolved Mysteries. So I was talking about last week about how I used to love Unsolved Mysteries, and of course it came back on Netflix. In a very much watered down form. I didn't like the format of the new Unsolved Mysteries at all. I mean, they kept the theme music, that creepy theme music, but that was about it. Everything else, it was just indistinguishable from any other true crime show that comes out on Netflix now. You know, no narration, no Robert Stack narration. I know because he's dead, but you know, but no narration. Narration to me like makes Unsolved Mysteries even more so than that theme. But anyway, so Kevin said, "Hey, I enjoyed your show last week, particularly the Unsolved Mysteries segment." He says, "Do you think the reboot could have really leaned into the style of the original show? Seems like it would come off more like a parody. They could have maintained the format, 4 segments per episode with the host, but the reenactments would have to be upgraded. What they did with the new show is made the reenactments more stylized." And yeah, Kevin, I agree with that. I mean, the reenactments are fine. Like, I love the reenactments. Those were fine. And Kevin was saying that, yeah, they could have come off very easily as parody. But that's what I was saying last week was the biggest problem with the Unsolved Mysteries show, because obviously these are real mysteries. These are real people's lives, you know, that you're talking about for TV, for television, you know, for entertainment. People are essentially being entertained by the exploitation of dead people and grieving families, you know. So yeah, the show has to be taken seriously. And I think the old Unsolved Mysteries show took itself very seriously. It wasn't trying to do like a campy, exploitative show. And indeed, as I mentioned last week, a lot of criminals were actually caught. A lot of cases were solved as a result of that show directly. Okay. You would always hear these instances of people watching the show and then being like, oh my gosh, that's my neighbor, Bob, that's Steve from accounting. And they would get turned in, right? Just from watching the show. And so, yeah, Unsolved Mysteries served a purpose back in the day. And I think if you were to bring it back now, in its previous form, yeah, it would appear as a parody. So I'm not saying, like, bring it back as it once was, but why call it Unsolved Mysteries at all? So that's sort of the paradox of the Unsolved Mysteries reboot, okay? Is that you've got a show that's using the name of an old show in order to provoke nostalgia in viewers, and that's why the viewers are watching it, But then you just take that and you are making a whole new show out of it, so it comes across as exploitative, almost even more than the old show, okay? Because you're taking an old title and you're exploiting its nostalgic factor just to give people new stories rather than creating a show of your own. So I think if you took the Unsolved Mysteries name off of the new show as well as the theme, you would not be able to tell that it's Unsolved Mysteries. So yeah, but that was a good and thoughtful comment, Kevin. I do appreciate it. So we also had a comment from Bryn regarding a show I did a couple of weeks ago about the films of 1999. Yeah, I was talking about 1999 and how that was the year that was just absolutely perfect for movies. You just had a slew of fantastic movies that year. We haven't had another year for movies like 1999 was. And I'll try to give you a list in just a minute of all the movies that came out in 1999 to the best of my knowledge. But Bryn actually sent me a link to a book called Best Movie Year Ever, How 1999 Blew Up the Big Screen. So he actually, there's actually been a book written about this, so I'm not the only one who's noticed this, that 1999 was kind of the best year for American movies. Yeah, probably in my lifetime, maybe ever. I don't know. But yeah, this is a movie by a book by Brian Rafferty. So I'll link it in the show notes. So yeah, says from a veteran culture writer and modern movie expert, this is a celebration and analysis of the movies of 1999. In 1999, Hollywood, as we know, exploded. Fight Club, The Matrix, Office Space, Election, The Blair Witch Project, The Sixth Sense, Being John Malkovich, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, American Beauty, The Virgin Suicides, Boys Don't Cry, The Best Man, that's the only one I don't know, Three Kings, Magnolia, okay? So, like, just those are just some of them, okay, right there. But it was an amazing year for movies, and I'm surprised I didn't mention American Pie there. That was a big movie that year. As well as the Austin Powers sequel, The Spy Who Shagged Me, a movie that I saw right after The Phantom Menace. So anyway, but yeah, that's interesting. There's a whole book that's been written about 1999, so I appreciate that, Bryn. Thank you very much. So yeah, those are just some of the comments. And of course, you can comment and let me know on the Midnight Citizen website, at the Overnightscape Underground, onsug.com. I'd be happy to hear from you. And of course, watching live too. If you want to comment and have me talk to you live, I will do that. More than happy to. So anyway, okay. All right, so what I did is I went to the Video Street video store and got a couple of videos for us to watch. So I'm going to take a break here and watch these videos, enjoy, and I'll be back here in just a minute. It's the Midnight Citizen Show.
America Online is making it easier for people to live, work, and play.
Hey, Dan, ready for the game? I'm just finishing up here with my new kayaking friends.
Kayaking friends on your computer?
Yeah, I just got America Online.
Sounds great. Listen, I can't go to the game today.
What?
I've got to send something for my mom's birthday. It's tomorrow. I'll then book plane tickets for our trip next week, and my kids got to go to the library to look up dinosaurs.
Hey, we can take care of all that before we go.
Yeah, right.
Oh, with America Online.
America Online can do all that?
Yeah. How about sending your mom some nice flowers? All you do is click on Marketplace. We place an order.
Call now for America Online, a new way to use your computer to communicate, have fun, and get instant news and information.
Flowers are sent. Now let's access the online travel service.
How long have you had this?
About a week. And it's so easy. All you do is point and click.
But how does it work?
All you need is a computer and a regular phone line. They send you the software and give you 10 free hours to check it out.
Call now for your free America Online Startup Kit and get free software and 10 free online hours. It's everything you need to get online.
Plane tickets are ordered. Now, let's look up dinosaurs. What do you think? Compton's Encyclopedia or National Geographic?
You get all that with America Online?
Yeah, you can read Business Week online before it hits the newsstand. Update your stock portfolio every 15 minutes with PC Quote. You can even play fantasy football.
Call now for 10 free hours of America Online and get instant access to the worlds of sports, finance, computing, and entertainment.
Here come the dinosaurs. I saved you a trip to the library.
That's great.
Yeah, downloading is easy, too. You know, I can even send email on the internet. And of course, there's my personal favorite, live chat. That's how I met my new kayaking buddies. We'll check that out later, after the game.
So how do you get America Online?
Oh, well, that's easy, too. You just call their 800 number.
I got to check this out.
Call 1-800-614-3434 now for your free America Online Startup Kit with free software and 10 free online hours. It's everything you need to get online. So call 1-800-614-3434.
We find one of Mother Nature's true court jesters, the African ground squirrel, enjoying a favorite snack. This plucky little herbivore spends most of its brief lifespan safely tucked into a complex system of tunnels and burrows, just inches below the surface of the belt. But a warm spring day and the enticing aroma of freshly blooming Congo buttercups proves too much.
Introducing DIVX, the best way to watch movies at home. DIVX is a new home video system that offers you the quality of digital pictures and sound, the freedom of no returns and no late fees, the availability of hot feature titles all the time, the flexibility of watching great movies whenever you want, the convenience of an affordable home video collection. Get the picture? The DIVX movie system uses DVD technology to create a brilliant digital picture. Get the sound? The DIVX movie system delivers spectacular digital sound. Avoid that mad rush to the rental store. No returns, no late fees. One less thing to stress about in your life. With DIVX, you're always sure to find the hottest new movie titles from top studios like Disney, Paramount, MGM, 20th Century Fox, Universal, and DreamWorks. DIVX is different than a VHS rental because the viewing period doesn't start when you leave the store. It begins when you insert the DIVX disc and press play, so you can watch your movie tonight, next week, or even months later. Every DIVX movie comes with a 2-day viewing period. During that time, you can watch it as often as you like. Reverse, fast forward, skip from scene to scene. And you're always free to pause at any time. It's not just remote control, it's complete control. Each DIVX movie costs about $4.50, making it easy and affordable to build a home DIVX movie library of your own. Keep the movies you've watched. Buy movies you plan to watch in the future. So what do you do with the DIVX disc after the viewing period ends? Add it to your DIVX movie library. Get another 2 days of viewing for about $3.25 anytime in the future. Convert it to unlimited viewing for a one-time fee. Trade it with a friend. Recycle your disc. The fact is, you can do whatever you want. You own it. DIVX gives you all the great features you've wanted in a home viewing system. The quality of digital pictures and sound. The freedom of no returns and no late fees. The availability of hot feature titles all the time. The flexibility of watching great movies whenever you want. The convenience of an affordable home video collection. All for about $4.50, only $1 more than a VHS rental. Get the quality, the freedom, the availability, the flexibility, the convenience. Get the DIVX digital movie system. The DIVX movie system, the best way to watch movies at home.
This little disc holds an entire movie. Looks like a CD, doesn't it? It has a digital picture that is more than twice as clear, twice as sharp, and twice as dynamic as the picture you would get off a VHS tape, along with spectacular digital quality sound. This is the latest innovation in technology called digital video disc, or DVD. Here's a DVD movie. DVD movies generally cost $15 to $35 and give you unlimited play, the same as when you buy a movie from a video store. There are over 1,000 movies available on DVD. But picture and sound are only 2 reasons why you should consider a DVD player. We all love movies, but the way we get them can often be a hassle. Buying is often too expensive, and renting can be a terrible inconvenience. Having to make a trip to the video store, finding that the new movie you want to see is already rented, selecting another one, making a trip back to the store to return it, paying late fees, ordering pay-per-view movies that can't be paused if you get interrupted. It's time to take the next step in the evolution of movies. Great pictures and great sound with none of the hassles. It's time for DIVX. The new DIVX feature for DVD players revolutionizes the way we get our movies. Here's the DIVX version of Tomorrow Never Dies. The DIVX DVD costs a lot less. Here's the difference. The DIVX disc at $4.49 includes a 2-day viewing period similar to a rental from the video store, but much better. Unlike a rental, you own this disc. The 2 days doesn't start when you walk out the door, and you never have to return it. Your 2-day viewing period only starts when you decide to put the disc in your DIVX player and hit play. It could be days, weeks, or months after you purchase the disc. You can then watch it as many times as you want. Stop it, restart it, fall asleep and watch the rest in the morning. Whatever you want. Because the 2 days doesn't start until you decide, you have complete control over when you watch it. And remember, you never have to return it. When you're finished, if you like the movie, keep it so that you can watch it later. How can you watch it later? Put it back in your DIVX player, hit play, and you get another 2 days of viewing for $3.25. You see, the DIVX machine is hooked up to your phone line, and it dials in twice a month while you're asleep to update your account and charge you for any additional viewings. The system never interferes with your use of the phone. It also receives information about special promotions and announcements. What if it's a movie that you or the family want to watch a lot? For almost all titles, you can purchase unlimited viewing privileges for your players called DIVX Silver for a one-time fee. You never have to pay for it again. It's yours to watch whenever you want. Finally, if you don't think you're going to watch the movie again, you can give the disc to a friend, recycle it, whatever you want. But what about availability? Since you buy instead of rent these discs, they should always be available. Just like music CDs, the latest hits are going to be there when you want them. And you can buy them at retail outlets across the country. You can order them over the internet and have them shipped right to your house. You can even pre-order them and have them hit your house about the same day that they first get to the rental stores. No more extra trips to rent or return movies. With DIVX, you have complete flexibility of when you watch and what you watch, because a DIVX DVD player plays DIVX movies, DVD movies, and music CDs. So that's DIVX. You get the quality of digital picture and sound, the freedom of no returns and no late fees, the availability of hot movies all the time, the flexibility of watching movies whenever you want, and the convenience of an affordable home video collection. Sound good? Doesn't this remove the hassle of renting movies? If you have any additional questions, please call this number or visit our website or a retail outlet near you. Thanks for taking the time to learn about DIVX, the best way to watch movies at home.
Yeah, we're all so much better than DIVX now. We look at that now and we look at AOL as if like, oh, it's so archaic, that's so in the past. We were just such children then, you know. But this year is 2020, and you know, 2020 is a year, and it's also like a reference to eyesight. You know, if you have perfect vision, then you're said to have 2020. Like that show. It was another big celebrity who passed away in the past couple weeks. Hugh Downs used to host 2020 with Barbara Walters. Everybody used to call her Baba Wawa. You know, remember that? You know. But yeah, 2020 is supposed to be like the year of hindsight, the year that we sort of look back on the mistakes of our past. So I guess DIVX was one of them. Nobody liked DIVX, you know. I never had DIVX. That was kind of a completely foreign territory to me. You know, I had a DVD player at the time, so I thought that the only kind of way that you could watch DVDs is either by going to the video store and renting them, or you could buy them. But apparently with DIVX, you could go and you could get these discs that were like, they were rentals, but you would buy the rental. And this is why I never got them, because this is like totally confusing. I had to watch that video twice the other day just to understand how this worked. Because, you know, DIVX was a technology that totally passed me by. But you would go to the Circuit City and you would buy a DIVX disc and you would take it home and you would put it into this special DVD player that was DIVX enabled, and it had this phone port on it. And the phone port would tell the company, the DIVX server, that you were renting the movie for like 48 hours. So it was like on demand, right? But it wasn't like now where you can just turn on your TV and you have like thousands of preloaded movies into a server that you can just choose from on a whim, and there's no physical media at all attached to it. Okay. So, you know, you would get this DIVX disc, and like for Tomorrow Never Dies, that James Bond movie, and you would tell the DIVX server through a phone line, okay, I'm now purchasing this movie for 48 hours. And after the 48-hour period is over, you would no longer be able to access that movie from the server. But you still could. All you had to do is go back in and pay for additional days, or you could buy the movie outright. And then you would actually have a physical copy of Tomorrow Never Dies on DVD. Okay? But they were also saying that you can recycle the disc by giving them to friends. Hey, I just watched this. Do you want it now? And they wouldn't have to pay any additional fee from you or anything. Yeah, I understand why that failed, because, I mean, the idea is to make every single person pay for... Well, okay, I guess they would take the DVD home, and then they would plug it into their DIVX DVD player that also had the server capability. And so then they would buy the movie. Okay, so they would pay for it. Okay, see, now I'm explaining and I can't even understand it. Okay, so this technology failed, and I think it lasted for maybe like a few years. And there was this other thing called Flex Playout, where you would get the DVD And as soon as you opened it up, it would immediately begin to like disintegrate, like one of those self-destructing messages in Mission Impossible. Okay, it would begin to disintegrate as soon as you started watching it. So it was like the Langoliers of DVDs. You know, you would start watching something and it would just like, you know, like a big black cloud would come in after it and just start erasing what you've watched. You know. So it's always interesting, just all this technology that we've abandoned or the technology that's matured to the point where we just are too we're too savvy for it now to look back on it. And I can't believe we fell for that, you know. I don't know. I don't think we should be so arrogant because, you know, definitely have no mistake. Or have no reservations. Make no mistake. We're making a lot of stupid decisions here in 2020 that we're going to be looking back on years from now with our 2020 vision, you know, and being like, God, dang it, how are we so stupid? So, yeah. So I hope you guys are all doing well tonight. This has been the Midnight Citizen Show. I've been your host, Mike Booty. Thank you so much for joining me. I am online at mikebooty.com/The Midnight Citizen. You can go there and you can find old shows. You can find my new shows. You can find my writing. You'll notice this week that I'm not doing a short fiction. You know, I've done a reading of short fiction on almost every single podcast I've done this summer. The Tales from Viscaga, Alabama. But I did not do the one this week. I just decided to take a week off from it. That's code for I just didn't finish it in time. So I'll return next week with the Tales from Viscaga, Alabama. But you can read all of those previous stories at mikebooty.com/writing. It's up there, you know. So join it there. I'm also online over at the Overnightscape Underground, ONSUG.com. You can see my show as well as all the other great shows on that podcasting network over there. I'm actually getting together with all those guys tomorrow via a Zoom meeting. We do these shows every 2 weeks. I always look forward to them. You know, we're doing this. It's a show we call the Exit Ramp, where Overnightscape hosts who do shows just like this one from all over the world get together. We always have. It's always hosted by Frank Edward Nora, who started the Overnightscape Underground out of New Jersey in 2009. Of course, he's been podcasting there ever since 2003, actually. And we always have PQ River over there in Arizona, or Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, I should say. We have people like Simon from California. We have people from Chicago. We have people from Ireland, the Netherlands. We have people from Australia sometimes join in. It's a really great time. You know? So we record that. We're recording that tomorrow, and then Frank usually releases it the next day. So check that out. It's usually like a 4-hour-long show that we end up just talking. You know. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. So anyway, yeah, we've done I think 8 or 9 of them so far ever since the quarantine started. So anyway, but yeah, I'm over there at onsug.com. I'm also, of course, at Mike Booty or youtube.com/Mike Booty, where you can see a live stream recording of this show. Check it out. Where else am I? Facebook.com/The Midnight Citizen. Check me out there as well. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Okay. Yeah, I will see you next week. Until next time, I hope you've enjoyed this show. Keep your eyes open. Completely improvised on the spot. Yes, and. Yes, and. All right. Well, there's a show for you. And it seems like everything recorded okay. Of course, my Vegas software once again crashed on me. It does that every single week. I've been trying to record onto this Zoom recorder, and I cannot get the damn thing to work. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But anyway, I don't know. Every single week, there's some piece of technology in the studio that fails. So you just have to roll with it. That's working and recording. So anyway, I love looking at this image here and just seeing all these blinking lights and everything. I feel like I'm like Howard Stern or somebody, or I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. My inspiration has always been Gene Shepard, and I'm broadcasting with a whole lot more equipment than Gene Shepard ever had, and he did an amazing show. So, and I always feel very self-conscious after I do my shows. It's just like, I don't know if that sounded right. It wasn't good. I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it, though. And, yeah. It looks like I actually lost my audience there. I think I had as many as 4 people watching tonight, which is good. That's not a bad audience for me. But I think I lost my audience there toward the end. But that's okay. I mean, I usually expect that. It's a quarter after 1 in the morning. People got church tomorrow. I don't, but I still need to get up tomorrow. I'm teaching summer camp on Monday, so tomorrow's all about planning summer camp, getting ready for Monday, and that last major thing I have to do before I have to start thinking about school again. So anyway, but yeah, it is now time to retire out into the night to drink some more of the scotch and have a cigar and just try to enjoy the fact that I did a show tonight. So yes, have a great evening. Yes, indeed. Once again, keep your eyes open. Thank you very much.